Hello and welcome to Undercommon Taste. This is a podcast where we create and discuss homebrew content for tabletop RPGs.
You ask me where you are, but I will tell you where you might be. You might be in the room you die in.
I'm Ian Woodworth. I'm joined by my co-host James Daly, and today, as promised, we are going to be playing with Tale of the Manticore's One Shot in the Dark expansion module maker kit. We have had John from Tale of the Manticore on a couple of times, and this is his little game that he made. Just uses a deck of playing cards and a couple of dice, and it's a whole lot of fun. It's real quick to play, and he recently released a second module to play through for it, alongside a completely free, pay what you want module maker kit. So a series of guidelines to follow. It's the source document for building your own module for One Shot in the Dark.
Now, again, One Shot in the Dark is absolutely a great game, and John's always a great guest. But seriously, I played 2 games back to back, and it was probably, well, for both games, maybe an hour and a half. Really easy to follow. Again, and interesting. I don't want to say amazingly because it's a great game, but it was surprising how compelling the game itself was. And I was like, I found myself getting into it. I'm sitting there flipping these cards, and I'm like, yes. I'm like, wait, this is really simple, and like, I just completely sunk into it. So it's great.
Yeah. And now, just real quick before we get too far into it, it is an OSR feel dungeon dive game as a default setting. You have cards that you flip to generate the map as you go. Each card represents a room that you will come into, and rooms have monsters in them, and rooms can have loot in them. And you have a 4-person party. You have the very standard fighter, wizard, cleric, rogue. The fighter has 8 hit points and a d8. I think the cleric has 6 hit points and a d6, and the rogue and the wizard both have 4 hit points and a d4.
Does the rogue have a d4 or d6? I thought the rogue had a d6 as well.
No, there's
Okay.
1 d8, 1 d6, and 2 d4s.
2 d4. Okay, then yeah.
And so the way that it works is, as you're playing, when you encounter a monster, the party goes first and they roll their dice. And if you roll a 4 or higher on the die, you hit and you deal your damage. If you roll under a 4, you miss. Now, the cleric and the wizard each also start off with 1 spell. You get to cast that 1 spell 1 time. And if you survive the dungeon and you get to the next level, you level up and you get 1 more spell, but you can't pick the same spell again. And so it is very much a resource management sort of thing. It's very easy to make it lethal.
Yes.
I think, spoiler alert, if you have not listened through all of Season 1 of Tale of the Manticore, in my first playthrough, just like in Season 1 of Tale of the Manticore, the cleric was the only one that survived.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're getting off topic here. The topic of tonight is we are going to go through the module maker kit, talk a little bit about the mechanics, and we are going to generate at least part of a module together. The plan is to do the prompts for the first level of whatever dungeon encounter that we're creating, populate it with encounters, maybe create a couple monsters, create a couple pieces of loot for it, and create a couple of the bosses that you'll meet at the end of everything if you survive down that far. Because the boss doesn't show up until the end of the 3rd floor.
Now, I will chase one more small rabbit trail. One Shot in the Dark is intended to be a solo play. So if you're sitting there and your game day falls through, you can do it on your own. That said, as I was playing, I could see it being broken up into 2, 3, or 4 players as well. I don't think it would be too terribly difficult to have each person control, quote, quote, a character. Or even, again, if it was you and a partner splitting up, hey, I'll take these 2, you take those 2, and going through that way. So I think, again, while it was designed to be a solo RPG, you could play it with up to 4.
Yeah, this is definitely a game that is solo playable.
Yeah.
That's how I would frame it. It can be played solo. The rules allow you to play solo without modifying the rules. But it absolutely can be played as a 4-player GM-less game. It's got a Dragon Strike kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
For those of you who have played Dragon Strike, for those of you of an age to know what Dragon Strike is. Yeah, that is a good point to make, is that this is a game that can be played solo without losing any of the effect.
Absolutely.
So anyway, before we get into this too terribly deeply, I made a little table for genre. We've got some fantasy subgenres on here. We've got some sci-fi subgenres on here. So James, if you would go ahead and give me a D8 roll so we can see what genre of game we are making.
Rolled a 6.
Roll a 6. Post-apocalyptic sci-fi. What?
Ooh, I like it.
Okay. Yeah, this could be fun. I think this is definitely going to have some Fallout, Mad Max sort of vibes going on.
Right. I mean, post-apocalyptic sci-fi, you kind of get the best of everything. You can get fantasy, you can get hard sci-fi, you can get that cyberpunk if you want it. You can have something ultra-realistic or ultra-grim. Post-apocalyptic sci-fi is super flexible. I'm really happy with this one.
So do we want this to be more gritty or more pulpy?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see what the cards say as we start rolling things out. Let's see how the game just forms naturally. We've got the primordial soup. Let's see what rises.
Okay. So in doing this, we've just figured out, genre. So that's part of step 1, which is themes and flair. This is, although not required, it's a good idea to give your expansion module some kind of controlling idea. So we have a vibe.
We have a vibe. So I'm going to bend your creative juices a little bit. We are post-apocalyptic sci-fi. I think for this, we need to establish what the apocalypse was.
Yeah, because there are lots of options here. It could be biological, it could be nuclear, it could be a disease, it could be volcanic eruption.
Tech.
It could be tech,
religious.
Yeah.
It could be religious, and hey, the gods got pissed and smote the earth.
Yeah.
Oh, we threw out some ideas. Do you have pen and paper with you?
I do.
Let's write these down and see if we can get 6 to 8. We have another table to roll.
Okay. So we've got nuclear.
Okay.
We've got biological.
Technological.
Alien invasion. That's a good one.
Environmental. Religious.
Religious. I mean, that's 6.
That's 6. Do you want to roll 6, or do you got any more that jump out at you?
I'm good with rolling a d6 on this.
Okay. You want me to roll, or do you have a die?
I got dice.
Okay, roll it.
4. Alien invasion.
Okay, perfect. So right now I'm feeling something close to District 9-ish.
Okay.
Obviously, the Aliens franchise, the Predator franchise, that leans a little bit more into space horror, but it could be that aftermath and people dealing with things. Right. A post-War of the Worlds. Maybe there are little camps and remnants of humans trying to evade and flee the alien overlords. Something along the lines of even like Planet of the Apes, where they come through and pockets of humanity that are surviving or subsisting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be if we wanted a more modern technology level for humans.
Yes.
Also, an option would be something along the lines of Mass Effect, specifically Mass Effect 3, where the Reapers show up on Earth.
Oh, okay.
And so it becomes, we have to fight this war of attrition for the sake of our species.
Okay.
I don't know as if I really want to go that far. I don't know that I want a game that is that far future.
Okay.
But it is an option.
It is an option. Something also like Battlestar Galactica. And again, that's still fairly futuristic, but again, they are going through.
And that is a similar vibe.
Yeah.
I think something a little more along the lines of a District 9 kind of thing would be good.
So we're keeping it somewhat modern, not super modern, but somewhat modern.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, the flip with District 9 was the aliens had landed on Earth and they were living in basically slums/internment camps. But we can flip that super easy. And so, again, you'd have like that.
That's where they were at the beginning of the movie.
True, yeah.
Spoiler alert for District 9. It inverts by the end of the movie.
It does. It definitely does.
Because the alien ships end up leaving and then they come back with all of the aliens and
Yeah.
subjugate humanity. So that could be something. Again, we have to decide, do we want it to be serious or do we want it to be pulpy?
Oh,
Do we want like the weird science coming in on this? Do we want this to be a serious piece of cinema or do we want this to play on Sci-Fi Saturday?
it's post-apocalyptic sci-fi. This almost needs to play on. It needs a good blend. It really does. I think a Fallout feel for this one, where you have a lot of grim and you have those moments of just like WTF humor. It was, what is it, the Wasteland Wilderness or
Weird Wasteland.
Weird Wastelands for New Vegas, I think
Yeah.
is a good
It
feel
was a
on this
Wild
one.
Wasteland. Wild
I
Wasteland.
think Wild Wasteland, yeah.
Yeah. It is the best perk to take.
It really is.
Just because.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got our vibe going. So next up, we need a location for our dungeon to be in.
Okay.
And by picking a location, we can flesh out what it is and why we're here. So there's a game that I found when I was looking through all of my games from the Solo But Not Alone 5 bundle, a game called Wanderer the Shrouded Realm. And they have some tables near the end. It's an OSR style game, but a lot of it is generated as you play using playing cards. And so I've got a locations table here in the back of the book, and I'm thinking pulling a card from this deck of playing cards to figure out what our location is going to be.
Pick a card, any card.
All right, so the card that I picked, interesting, is the King of Diamonds.
Ooh, okay.
So the King of Diamonds, according to this table, is a Shadows outpost. I guess the Shadows are a faction. They are apparently an evil faction.
Okay.
So it is an outpost of an evil faction. That actually just about writes itself.
It really, I mean, it does. And so with this post-apocalyptic alien invasion, I'm seeing these were probably collaborators, maybe like the Vichy France. And so this would have like a blend of human and alien tech and settings. The other could just be, it could be flat alien or it could be evil human. But yeah, my first impulse would go to like a group of human collaborators and they are trying to help track down other free human groups.
See, that's not where I went first.
Okay, where'd you go
first?
Which
is interesting. Where I went first is this is an alien like fortification.
Okay.
And they're holding your friends somewhere inside. And so this is a rescue mission.
Oh, that would be great as well, yes. That would have a very XCOM feel, which is an amazing game series and still consideration for after I finish either Darkest Dungeon or Neverwinter. But yeah, no, that would have a very good XCOM feel. I like that. Okay, we're on a rescue mission. Good deal.
Yep. Let's see here. Next is, layout. Oh no, that's talking about actual, layout of the module. All right, so next up is going to be character classes.
Okay.
It says, new classes are fun, though I recommend keeping the standard array of 1d8, 1d6, and 2d4 hit dice. One fighting class, one specialist, and 2 spellcasters. So I'm thinking you're going to have the muscle.
Yeah.
That's going to be your d8. Your d8 is going to be some sort of combat class.
Absolutely. You're going to have your medic. That'll be your cleric.
Yeah, I think we're going to leave that as the d6.
Okay. That leaves... Oh, go ahead.
And then we have 2 d4s. I'm thinking we're going to have...
like your scrounger / tunnel rat?
Right. Trying to think of verbiage. We're going to need like a sapper?
Okay.
Like an engineer?
Yeah.
The person whose their entire job is breaching doors and bypassing security.
Okay, yeah.
And it's what a rogue does, but with modern tools as opposed to fantasy tools.
Yeah, this is going to be your systems penetrator, your thing. This is going to be the person that, if you need something, they find something, they are definitely going to be your fence. And again, it still has that rogue feel. No, I like that a lot.
And then you're going to have, the tech...
The tech dude. Yeah,
the tech guy.
Person. Yeah.
Tech bro.
Yeah.
So,
still trying to sell crypto.
the person whose job it is to, hack the security feed, and maybe they have a drone that can do stuff.
I would go with post-apocalyptic alien sci-fi. This would be the guy that might maybe have scrounged and repurposed a piece of two of alien tech and knows how to use it.
Yeah. So we're just going to call him Tech Guy for now.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have to, at some point,
name these characters.
well, we're going to have to build spell tables or skill tables for the medic and the tech guy.
Yeah.
Which I think we can probably get pretty close with just reskinning the abilities that the cleric and the wizard get in the base One Shot in the Dark game.
Most certainly, yeah.
So that's where we're going to start. So speaking of new spells, that is the next thing on the list. It says new spells or skills are another way to add spice to your expansion module. When designing them, keep their power modest. AoE spells should typically not do more than 2 points of damage to each enemy. No save spells should do no more than 1 to 6. If you wish to include more powerful spells, they should have limitations, such as allowing the target a saving throw, or making the spell only useful against certain monster types that might never be encountered.
Okay.
So, scrolling in here on the actual One Shot in the Dark. So, there's 5 spells on the cleric list and 6 spells on the wizard list.
Okay. Let me pull up that cleric spell list here.
All right, so the first one...
Yeah, the first for the cleric is a simple heal.
Yeah.
Add 4 HP up to any one character's current total.
Yeah, we'll probably...
Call that medkit.
We'll just rebrand that as first aid.
Yeah.
Next one, Bless. Get +1 on all attack and damage rolls for all characters for 1 round of combat.
Call that one Red Bull. Dude's packing some energy drinks.
I was just going to call it Stims.
Yeah, Stims. That works.
See here. Banish. Destroy 1 undead enemy other than a boss by the power of faith. See here.
With this, again, coming in the alien sci-fi, are the aliens biological, cybernetic, both? Because we could totally make that a destroy or...
I think they need to at least be part biological.
Okay.
There may be some of them that have mechanical exoskeletons, basically, that they are in, but I think by and large, because by default this is a low hit point, high lethality sort of game, I think that we really need to not have them be too terribly mechanical just to keep everything fair.
Okay.
And thematically fair.
Okay.
Make it feel like they actually have a chance of pulling this off.
So I would call this one hack and make it like Bane in D&D. And so enemies get a -1 to their attack rolls and their damage rolls for the next turn. And thematically, it hacks or interferes with their cybernetics.
So that sounds more like a tech guy thing.
Okay.
That sounds like something that a tech guy might end up having.
Okay. So we have Banish, destroy 1 undead enemy.
Let's see here.
This is our medic. It could be poison, and you could kill 1 totally organic enemy, be it human or alien, non-boss, because the bosses would probably have the cybernetic upgrades.
So I'm thinking the thing that the medic will be able to take out will be a collaborator.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
This is their one ability that if they take it, they are able to eliminate 1 human collaborator without anything else, just by the pure medical knowledge.
Okay, I like it.
So what are we going to call it? Euthanize?
Yeah, again, poison still works. And maybe the dude has a poison dart or something he can huck. He, she, they.
Yeah. Next one is Holy Weapon. So the cleric deals double damage for 1 battle.
So the first thing I think of is the norepinephrine pills, the adrenaline pills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, adrenaline pill.
Yeah, call it adrenaline pill or adrenaline rush.
We'll just call it adrenaline, just to simplify things. And then the last one is Divine Aid. All damage sustained is cut in half, rounded down for 1 round of combat.
So with that, I would call that one first aid, and I would call our first one something more significant, like battlefield medicine, or we could flip the two, just call this one combat medicine.
I'd just call this one take cover.
Okay, yeah, take cover, that works. Yeah.
Now, is there something that a medic would have, something that a support class would have that isn't on this list? I'm just trying to think
Think
of a sixth thing
thing.
so that we have the same number of medic and tech guy
Nice.
abilities.
Again, you're going to kind of give people a push. We've got a point to eliminate. How did we do the? Let me see here. We did the one. Let's see here. All attack and damage rolls for all characters. That, what do we call that? Bless. We called that one.
Stims.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like, you have the Marines, and like the one thing is like if you messed with their medic, they all just like went nuts because you don't mess with their medic. So yeah, don't touch the medic. So we kind of have that one. I mean,
this is something that could be useful. Call it defib.
Okay.
And when you use it, you roll a d4, and on a 4, you bring a
downed player.
Yeah, you bring a down player back to 1 hit point.
That's perfect. Yeah, I was thinking almost the exact same thing. Well done.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
Because it probably not going to work. You have a 75% chance of it not working at all, but that 25% chance. Actually, you know what? Go ahead and give them a full 4 hit points.
Think so?
Yeah, if there's a 25% chance of this thing working and a 75% chance of you completely wasting the one spell that you got.
Yeah.
It needs to have a good reward, or otherwise no one's going to take it.
Yeah. No, I like that. Okay.
All right. And then the tech guy, the first one is Blast. Deal 1d6 damage with no attack roll needed.
That's like laser gun.
Yeah.
Or grenade. I like grenade.
Boomstick.
Yes, boomstick. It's perfect. I love it.
Well, that's not tech guy. That doesn't feel tech guy, though. That feels...
It could be if it's like an actual, like, boomstick. Maybe it's something like a flashbang or something like that, or, I mean...
Potentially.
We're trying to keep it campy, so, I mean, we could just have a picture. It's like an alien grenade or something that they figured a way out to overcharge. And
we'll call it boomstick for now.
Okay.
And
they overcharge a battery capacitor or something, and it just... Okay. And that kind of gives it a little camp, too.
See, next is Knock. Bypass 1 barrier or trap, no roll needed. This is just hack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next is Mass Invisibility. Avoid any combat except a boss.
I would call this cloak or camouflage.
I think cloak works.
Okay.
Cloak feels better, and it's more succinct.
Yeah.
All right. Next is Enthrall. Enemy must save or join the party as a faithful ally until dead or the level is completed. Does not work on a boss or undead.
So I would say this is going to be... I'm kind of getting that whole power of charisma. You get your whole, like, Jack Black feel going, and you convince a person to switch sides for a bit. Either, like
subvert?
Yeah, subvert would be great. So either you can convince an alien to defect or a collaborator to switch sides again.
I think if we are using collaborator in place of undead in the euthanize ability on the cleric, I think we need to keep collaborator uniform throughout.
Okay.
And so I would say that this ability will only work on an alien.
Okay.
Or on, say, an unwilling human. Or let's say we have some that they're experimenting on, or, hybrids or what have you. But it will not work on a boss, and it will not work as willingly, who is a collaborator, who has willingly joined with the aliens.
I like the concept of using it on an alien, because this now creates some sort of philosophical divide amongst those who have invaded and stayed. Like, they think something's not being done correctly. Maybe they don't like how the invasion process, or maybe they don't feel like how they are treating the indigenous earth life, i.e. humans and animals, or maybe they think that this is their point for a power play, but it does create a bit of that thematic of political tension amongst the aliens, not like a hive mind.
That's also assuming that all of the aliens are intelligent. There's bound to be, like, the equivalent of dogs.
Fair. Okay, yeah. Also, you're going to get that one drunk alien that's on guard duty that doesn't want to be there, and it's like the equivalent of the private that's been demoted 12 times because they just can't get their shit together. Like, they barely made it on the ship.
All right, next up is Poison Cloud. Automatically inflict 2 points of damage to every enemy.
I like this. I would call this bug bomb. You know those bug bomb cams you can get to, like, fumigate your house?
I like that, yeah.
Maybe for whatever reason, those are really effective on the aliens, and I mean, they're not great for people too. So you just
Well, I
huck
mean,
one of those in.
yeah, but this is assuming that, I mean, if they've been here long enough to have established an outpost and have captured your friends, that you have to do a rescue mission, that suggests that the battle lines have been drawn for at least a substantial enough amount of time that these sort of biological weaknesses have been discovered.
Yeah,
So it might be something as innocuous as like talcum powder.
yeah. Febreze spray.
Yeah, it could.
It's Axe body spray. It's totally Axe body spray.
It's it's Selsun Blue.
Yeah.
What movie was that?
I don't know that one.
There was one where there was an alien invasion, and I can't remember if it was Selsun Blue or Head and Shoulders. It was a type of shampoo, and there was something in the shampoo that they reacted to, and that was what was able to defeat the aliens.
That sounds like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but I don't think it is.
It was from the 80s, I think.
Again, that could. Let's see here.
So anyway, we're getting off topic again.
Rabbit trails.
And then the last one is lightning. So on a successful attack roll, so a 4 on a d4, instantly kills any enemy, including a boss.
Ooh, so that's an arc charge. And again, you could have some sort of like electric Gauss gun or something like that.
We just call it railgun.
Yeah, railgun works.
Because that sounds like something that a tech guy would have.
Yeah,
you know,
the BFG from Dune.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. Was it Evolution with David Duchovny and
possibly
7 Up Yours guy? Yeah.
It's been a hot minute, and I've only ever seen clips from it. I've never actually watched the movie itself. Editing room Ian here. It was, in fact, the 2001 film Evolution with David Duchovny and Julianne Moore. And the shampoo in question was Head and Shoulders.
So yeah, I think we got a good spell list going.
Yep, so we've got our spell list, we've got our classes. These next ones, we're going to just read through them and then double back to them when we get to it. So next up is loot. So I probably should have mentioned this near the beginning. Whenever you're playing One Shot in the Dark, you have a deck of playing cards that you have divided out into 4 decks of 13 cards, with each suit being its own deck. You have a loot deck, which is your clubs. You have the maps deck, which is the hearts. You have the monsters deck, which is the diamonds. And you have the bosses deck, which is the spades. And until you get to the boss at the bottom of the dungeon, you're not going to touch the spades. You're only going to be playing primarily with hearts, which is the map tiles. That's how you generate the map as you go. But you're going to use the diamonds for any time you come across a monster to generate which monster it is, and then clubs anytime you come across loot to determine what the loot is. And so it just gives general advice for loot is as with spells, keep things modest. The traditional add a bonus kind of loot works well. Alternatively, loot can provide remedies to negative conditions caused by special monster types. For example, one loot type might be a good quality weapon to replace any that have been rusted by corrosive monsters. The third approach to loot is to make something that mimics spells, so like potions or scrolls. If you use actual treasure, coins, or gems, then that treasure should be useful in some way, such as to bypass greedy monsters. And then with maps, you have a standard array of how many of each type of encounter you put into the deck for one level. So we're going to be building a level 1. So we're going to have 2 that have no encounter that are flavor text only. We're going to have 3 to 4 draw a monster tiles. We're going to have 2 draw loot tiles. We're going to have 1 to 2 special negative tiles, 3 expert save or penalty tiles. So like a trap chest. If the thief is alive, save to avoid taking 1 to 6 points of damage. So that would be if your engineer is alive, they get to roll a save, and if they succeed, you avoid taking damage. Then 2 that are special positives. The example is a fairy ring, take +1 on your next roll. And then the ace is always the exit to the next level. So there are rules that if you draw the ace within, I think, the first 4 or 5 cards, you shuffle it back in so that each level does not end too quickly. because you don't want to go straight from level 1 into level 2 without actually facing anything in level 1.
There is, with this, one trap that I think we need to do as a penalty. And I think as we make these up, well, I'll bring this up. I think you'll be agreeable to it.
Okay. So I think basically what we can do is follow the template of what the first level cards for actual one shot in the dark.
Yeah.
Follow what they have. And then I picked up a copy of Mythic Game Master Emulator so that we can roll some prompts on this to figure out how we want to change them so that we don't have just a basic one-to-one transition. We'll keep the gist of each card the same, but change the flavor of it.
Okay, I like that.
All right. For the first level, the 2 of hearts, we've got a T-junction tunnel. So that's going to be one of our flavor nothing happens tiles. Did you hear something?
Right. I'd call it flip a coin. You got to pick which way you want to go.
So next up, this one is also going to be a flavor one because it doesn't actually impact the players. It says Cave of Bats, 3 exits. There are thousands of the harmless little buggers in here. And I think this is where we are going to do our first mythic roll.
Okay.
So do you want to do the action or the subject on this one? And then we'll just bounce back and forth.
I'll do the action.
All right, so you go ahead and go first.
Okay.
D100.
So here, D100. I'm rocking an 86.
86, Passion.
Oh my.
And then for my subject, 9, which is Evil.
Evil Passion. Ooh.
Evil Passion. So I think this is going to be, they're coming across an empty lab.
Okay.
Or like
propaganda posters trying to convince people to join and become collaborators.
Potentially. It's either that or like evidence of the sort of weird, macabre.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I like that. Yeah.
Experiments that they're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I brought up the possibility of having like hybrids.
Yeah.
In here. So like humans that they're grafting things onto.
Okay. Yeah. So they're just like in a stasis tank, or they're like in. If you've watched
tanks. Yeah.
Yeah. You got those tanks, or like if you've seen Star Trek, you've got the Borg, and they're just like in those alcoves, but they're not moving. They're just kind of like lurched in there.
Yeah, kind of like the Draugr in Skyrim.
Yeah.
Okay. So next one is 4. This is Slender Twisting Tunnel, 1 exit. Suck in that gut and squeeze through. So this is going to be another flavor one. So I'm going to roll the action on this one, and you go ahead and roll the subject. The action I have is 17, Antagonize.
96.
96, The Public.
Antagonize the public. Ooh, I like that. Again, I've got that XCOM feel where you've got them where they're broadcasting out. Either like propaganda, like come join us, or fighting us is futile, or we're going to eradicate you, so there's no point in resisting.
I'm going to put this as climbing across the scaffolding behind the PA system.
Okay.
So, like, the vibe check on this particular one is that you're having to squeeze through behind the loudspeakers that are broadcasting this propaganda.
Okay, I like it.
And while you might really want to turn it off, if you turn it off, they're going to notice that you're here, and the whole point of this is to avoid detection. And so that's going to have to wait until later.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
So loudspeakers. All right, number 5. This is their first encounter one. Creature lair / dwelling. 2 exits. Monster. If you are victorious, draw loot.
Okay.
You want to go ahead and roll the action, and I'll roll the subject, and we will determine what sort of creature living space, what sort of domicile this is.
Hold on real quick. 15.
15, Gratify, and then 58, Stalemate. Gratify, Stalemate.
This is like their pub. This is like kind of like you go in and this is like their break room or their pub. They go there to kind of de-stress at the end of the day, because I'm sure aliens have stress at the end of their day like people. And so like you catch the dude, the alien, the person, the monster, whatever, in the break room basically.
Okay. That could work. I'm thinking something.
You know what?
Um,
We wanted to camp, right? We wanted to make a little bit of campy. You catch them in the bathroom.
Potentially. So what? Oh, geez.
That's a hard one to mesh.
Yeah, gratify stalemate. I'm thinking maybe it's almost like it's reminding me of that episode in season 4 of Battlestar Galactica where they break out the boxing ring and everyone settles their grudges before that last big campaign.
Okay.
And maybe it's something like that they've got set up where maybe, see, I don't want to be too prescriptive on it because we are going to be flipping a card to figure out what the monsters are. And it needs to be something that can be used in all cases.
So instead of doing a pure 1-to-1, let's do like a 0.99-to-1. Because this gratify and stalemate, perhaps if the party has come across some sort of gold or tech or loot previous, they can offer some of that loot and the alien will let them go, or the monster will let them go, be an alien or collaborator or whatever. You gratify them, it's a stalemate because they'll just leave it even and pretend they didn't see you.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. And so it can be you flip a monster. If you win, you get loot. If you have loot, you can use it to avoid the encounter.
Yeah.
Okay. But what is this going to be, like barracks or?
It could just be, like I said, it could be something as simple as a hallway or a room. Again, this was coming through. It says it has 2 exits. And again, we can leave that for the players to develop too. It is just a room of some sort that has 2 exits that they've entered. How they proceed, it could be a barracks, it could be a hallway, it could be a supply room.
I think we might just leave the wording the same then, creature
Yeah.
lair / dwelling.
Yeah.
All right, next up is dead end. So a cave-in has collapsed this tunnel, go back. If no other options exist, dig through. Each character loses 1 HP due to exhaustion.
I would call this like airlock or blast a door.
Well, let's roll on it first.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I got a 52 for adjourn.
81.
Victory. Adjourn victory.
I think an airlock or a blast door still works for that. Because if you win, you can walk out and seal, and that kind of ends things, You have the old alien things where, Ripley blasts the alien out of the airlock. I mean, that was definitely, it ended the movie and it was a victory.
But the mechanics on this one is you have to turn around, and if you can't turn around, then you lose hit points getting through it.
Yes. And so you try to pry the doors apart, but you can only show me them so far. It could also, again, adjourned victory. It could be some sort of room with like a poison gas or something in it that you can either turn around or go through. Maybe there's like a sludge or an acid on the floor.
Yeah, okay. That I can see.
Okay.
Yeah, this is assuming that they are different enough in biology. They're similar enough that they can actually survive, but they're different enough that they have some aspect of their life that is perfectly normal for them, but is detrimental to humans. So, like, maybe the planet that they're from has a high ammonia content in their atmosphere.
Okay.
And so this is a room filled with that sort of ammonia gas.
Okay.
And so,
like
yes, it is one of those things where you can't go through it unless you really have to. And if you really have to, you're gonna get hurt by it.
Yeah, you're going to be coughing, your eyes are going to burn, your nose is going to be running. It's just like
yeah,
like getting a good whiff of smelling salts.
I'm just going to call it gas chamber in my notes.
Okay.
And we'll leave it at that. All right, next is treasure room. 1 exit. Trapped chest. If your thief is alive, save to disarm the trap. On a fail, a character takes 1d4 damage. In either case, draw loot.
Storage locker or supply closet.
Yeah, I'd call it like a foot locker.
Okay.
And then, see, this is where our engineer and our tech guy have gotten sort of blurred together.
A little bit.
But like, I'm saying this as sort of let's just say that they have like biometric locks.
Okay.
So if the engineer is alive, they can attempt to bypass it And if they fail, then they take damage.
Yeah.
Or, if they fail, no, because we want it. You get loot because the engineer is still alive. Because in the original case, you get the loot because you still have your thief.
Yes.
The thief is just rolling to see if they disarm the trap. So,
yeah.
And then there's a penalty if they fail that.
Right.
So I think that, yeah.
That should just stay the same then, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, a huge cavern, 3 exits. Wow, those are some chunky stalactites. Monster.
I've got a 14.
All right. And I have a 12. Trying to remember, did I do action or subject last?
Forget.
Oh, anyway. You had a 14?
14.
All right. So it's either going to be increase peace or abandon opposition, depending on which one of us we're doing.
Huge room.
Huge room with monsters in it.
Abandon opposition. I like this because this has 3 exits, right? We can do this one like we did the dead end. You can choose to fight the monster or you can turn back and flee. But if you flee, you have to treat it as a dead end.
Well, I think this is definitely going to be one of those, like the scene where Han Solo and Chewie are running through the Death Star and they round the corner while they're running from stormtroopers and they find more stormtroopers in front of them.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that it's going to be sort of that vibe.
Okay.
So like have this be like a training grounds.
Okay.
So like they round the corner and now they're standing in the middle of the training grounds.
Okay.
And the monsters are there and there's no avoiding it. They see you, you see them.
And the
fight commences.
Okay. And you try to flee, but at least one can catch up.
No, there's nothing about fleeing in the original. It's just there's monsters.
Okay.
Here be monsters.
All right.
Let's see here. Next up is 9. Creature sleeping quarters. 2 exits. If your thief is alive, safe to sneak through. On a fail, draw a monster. This is the barracks.
Yeah.
We're not even going to bother rolling on that one. This was the barracks.
Yeah.
And we'll do the same thing where if your engineer is alive, you can roll a save to sneak through. And if they fail, then you fight the monsters. If the thief is not alive, you just fight the monsters.
Okay.
So next up is 10. Trap.
It's a target.
You said you had a trap idea.
Yeah, so my trap idea is if you fail this trap, you get lost. And so what I'm thinking for the penalty for the trap is when you pull your exit card, if you fail, you have to reshuffle the exit card the first time.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that's the penalty for the trap. And so it would be like you just get confused. And so I guess this would be a mental check. You're checking.
Or maybe you shuffle all of the cards that you've already done. You shuffle all those back into the deck.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Well, I mean, I like that. That can make a very, very long first layer. I'm thinking if you just, again, because depending on when you pull that exit card, like if you're 10 cards in and you pull your exit card or you get to this trap room, and you're reshuffling the whole deck, that's a lot. But if you're just reshuffling that one card, it's still achievable to get out. You're not necessarily redoing everything. Does that make sense? Like you're still making progress to a point. So like if you're 5 cards in, you've got 7 cards, you pull the thing so you can shuffle that card in, and that can be anywhere back in that 7 versus being 1 and 12 again, or 1 and 13. It depends on how brutal or how long you want to make that first level.
I mean, the original has, if the thief is alive, save to disarm the trap. On a fail, a character takes 1d4 damage.
And that can outright kill 2 characters.
Yes, that can just outright kill 2 of the 4 characters if they happen to be targeted and they roll a 4.
Yeah, okay, then reshuffle the whole deck.
Yeah.
Okay.
So getting lost. All right. So the Jack. Beautiful natural sanctuary. 2 exits. Stay and rest. Each character regains 1 lost hit point. Characters may choose to save this benefit for one-time use later instead. All right, so this is going to require a roll. So I am back on action and you are on subject. Okay. So I've got 94 dispute.
56.
Wishes. Dispute wishes.
I'm thinking maybe you hit like a medical bay and you find med supplies.
Yeah?
Or you find a stash of human, quote, quote, contraband or human artifacts that they have just kind of stashed, but they haven't processed. And so there's just like a supply of stuff.
Okay. So we could do this as each character regains 1 hit point.
Okay.
Or we can do this as, say, you find a weapons cache, and so all characters get +1 on attack and damage rolls until the end of the level.
I like it. I think we could give them the choice. You can either heal 1 hit point or get 1 attack.
Yeah, we do that as instead of getting to save it to do it later, is like you have to choose now.
Right.
Either you recover 1 hit point or you get a +1 ongoing for the rest of the level. All right. Next is the Queen. The Shrieker Mushroom Cave. 1 exit. If your thief is alive, save to sneak through. On a fail, something comes to investigate the awful noise. Draw a monster.
I rolled a 39.
So 39. Bestow. 93. Weather. Bestow weather.
Oh. This again feels like another one of those gas rooms where you hit like an environmental room.
This is like a Faraday cage.
Okay.
And if you're going through it, you have to like avoid setting something off, because if you set something off, it's going to start arcing lightning to the Faraday cage.
Okay.
And that's the noise that'll bring the guards.
Yeah, you just got to sneak through or trip an alarm.
Yeah, because that's the whole thing is like if the thief is alive, you save to sneak through.
Yeah, okay.
And on a fail, you get a monster.
Okay, yeah.
All right. The last one that we have to worry about is King. Prison. 1 exit. Rescue a prisoner to A. Replace a dead party member, same class. Or B. Take information that allows characters to skip the next monster. I think that's pretty good.
We do that 1 for 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since we're on here on a rescue mission, so you find your first target.
Yeah, this is going to be someone who is not one of the people that you're coming in for, but they're still a prisoner and you're still going to break them out.
Sorry, Mario, your princess is in another castle.
And then, the last one is the ace, stairs to level 2. If drawn in the first 6 cards, replace the ace into the hearts deck, reshuffle the remaining cards and draw again. Otherwise, start a fresh map, level up, and begin dungeon level 2. All right, so we have all of our prompts for level 1. I think we need to come up with like 2 or 3 options for the bosses that we're going to be meeting at the end of this.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I still have this deck of playing cards in front of me, and I'm just going to flip a card off the top to see what I get, and we're going to base the boss monster that we get off of what it comes up.
Okay.
So the Queen, Spider Demoness, 13 hit points, D8 damage. A special ability is Web. 1 character is immobilized and cannot take an action during each round of combat. So that is something that they get to do in addition to their normal attack.
So I like this. I would go something like Matriarch, and maybe she does a psychic attack.
Do we want to roll on it?
Oh, yeah, we can roll on it.
All right. 56 wishes. Wait, no, I'm up on top again. Usurp. Okay, usurp.
I got 11.
Emotions. Usurp emotions. That still fits.
Yeah. The other thing, usurp emotions. What if for 1 turn she turns a character against the party?
Yeah.
So you'd roll a 1d4 if one of the characters is dead. So like, say your tech guy expires during the mission and she rolls a 3, because that'd be tech guy, then the attack misses. But if she rolls a 1, 2, or 4, then that party member next attack would go against one of the other party members.
I would let them save.
Okay. With a save.
So 1 character has to save or fight alongside the boss for 1 turn.
For 1 turn, yeah.
Save or traitor.
Save or collaborate.
Yeah, that's how I'm putting it in my notes.
Okay.
And then the other one we're going to do is 7. Okay, Giant Troll, 16 hit points, D8 damage, regenerates 3 hit points each round.
Okay. Let's go ahead and roll on this one again.
Yep.
95.
Punish Elements.
Oh, so I'm thinking of like a gargantuan. This could either just be like it's brute meat shield tank critter, or maybe they've made something that is like an elemental. Like maybe that Faraday cage is to contain a monster that has like almost like an electric eel and can discharge electricity from its skin.
Okay. Like a living lightning. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. And rather than, but how will the health regen on this one?
it could still work because I mean it's still building up a charge as it moves.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that can work.
Okay.
Right. We've been at this for over an hour.
Yeah.
So I think just real quick, coming up with a couple of the simple monsters and a couple of the
Loot
loot
pieces.
pieces using the same method. So with monsters, we've got King, which is Goblin Shaman. 4 hit points, d4 damage, has the spell Blast.
To be,
Do we want to roll on this or do we just want to brainstorm it?
I'd brainstorm this one because the blast is we
Okay.
said the blast was the blast boomstick or laser
Yeah,
weapon?
Blast is Boomstick.
Boomstick. Yeah, this is just like I said, an alien guard that's got the proper grenade and knows how to properly use it. And so yeah, they're gonna hook it.
Yeah.
Or it could be a collaborator that has also figured out how to overcharge these things and they use it the same way.
I think we're going to save Collaborator
Or
for.
undead.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, this is just an alien guard with a boomstick. Okay.
And then the other one is going to be another 7. Speaking of, 3 skeletons, 4 hit points, d4 damage, undead.
Yeah, so you
So,
just got 3 collaborators.
yeah, 3 collaborators. That's simple enough.
Yep.
And then on the loot tables, 6 Scroll of Blast. We find a boomstick.
Exactly. That was easy.
Boom stick. And that's good because that becomes something that anybody can use, not just the tech guy.
Right.
And then the other one is, 7 is a lucky charm, +1 to all saving throws for the rest of the
Game. Yeah, I would make that like maybe energy shield
Well, it's for saving throws. It's not for
for damage.
yeah, it's not for attack rolls. It's not
Oh,
so it's gonna have to be something that
maybe something like I'm kind of picturing like the Batman suit where it's not quite body armor, but you know, it has some resistance. It helps them move quieter. So like body armor or maybe like I can't this you know
like I'm thinking more along the lines because we are sci-fi, something like a HUD, like a heads-up display.
okay, yeah, HUD would work, yeah. Being forewarned is being forewarned. I like it.
Yeah, it allows you to more accurately assess the environment.
Yeah.
So you're just more aware,
Yeah.
which makes it easier for you to resist anything that would require saving.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Yeah. So there we are. We have started in on this. I don't know how far this is going to edit down because we did have a few areas where we were hemming and hawing that are going to get cut out and shrunk down. But at this point, we've almost been going an hour and a half
Yeah.
in real time. So I think that is all that we're going to do tonight.
Yeah, but I mean, with this far, we've gotten our complete first layer basically set up. We're pretty close. As you saw, the monsters is another 13 and not terribly difficult to fill in. Same with loot. And once you get those going, I mean, you can spend an hour or two just filling out an entire module that will replay multiple times. That is one really good thing about One Shot in the Dark is I have found it extremely replayable. And so, I mean, that is the difference too. Like if you're sitting down for like an Old Gods of Appalachia or Pathfinder or D&D, as a DM, you might put 2 or 3 hours building, you know, your next session for your campaign. And unfortunately, you're probably not visiting that scenario again. You know, unless you save your scenarios and campaigns for other one-shots and work them back in to other things. It's kind of a one and done. And so with the same amount of time and effort, again, you can build a game for yourself because Lord knows the DMs never get to play. Or you can, again, run this multiple times. And so I think the reward for effort value is very high with this.
Right. I do want to read off the guidance that he provides for the monsters in the Maker Kit.
Okay.
It says, limit yourself to a maximum of 4 monsters in a room, and even this many should be rare.
Yeah.
Long combat after long combat can be a slog, and for those who like to draw in the encounter as they play, it's hard to doodle multiple creatures.
Very true.
2 is a good number to use when in doubt. Some monsters should have special abilities or features like undead, greedy, or corrosive, etc. And the table that he has here for level 1 suggests 10 to 12 total monster hit points per encounter, with approximately 7 monsters with special abilities per level.
Okay.
So basically half of the monsters have some special ability. They're not just a generic monster, a generic sack of hit points that can punch you. And then, 10 to 12 hit points total per encounter.
Right. So yeah, that is one thing I definitely found with One Shot in the Dark. With my first playthrough, went through and I got the quote cave of bats with like my second pool of the game, and I had the bats attacked. Or it wasn't cave of bats, it was something else, but I had like 4 bats. But they almost dropped, like they dropped my warrior, which was my big meat shield, down to 1 hit point, and so he was almost dead by like the second or third. Your party's hit points diminish very quickly when you come into combat. And so if you throw a ton of combat at your characters, they will have a hard time getting through. You have to think too, I mean, statistically, your tech guy and your engineer both only have a 25% chance to hit. So they're missing most of their attack rolls. And they only have 4 HP. So if they get hit, they are very, very squishy.
And then, the medic has 6. So they have a 50-50 chance of hitting.
Right.
Because it is a 4 and higher hits.
Yeah.
I can't remember how actually dealing damage works.
Do you just rolled your hit die? Yeah.
Is it the same roll?
I re-rolled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. When an attack roll succeeds, roll that die again to calculate damage. Okay. I just remembered that my cleric rolled super well the entire... My D6 was just on fire.
Yeah.
Like I was rolling 5s and 6s all night.
Yeah. So like I said, my first run through, that warrior got whittled down to like 1 HP early on. And then the first trap my thief came to, they failed their save and got killed by the trap. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah. So in my game, everyone survived the first level. And then in the second level, I got the green slime attack.
Oh, you were happy with that?
Not really, because
slimes.
Take D6 damage, 1 character only with no save. It was my rogue that got hit with it, and I rolled a 6 because my D6 was on fire all night. And so yes, he went from full health to dead.
Bye, rogue.
Yeah, and I remember in the last one, there's one, the Jack. If a character has died, their ghost floats through the wall.
Okay.
On a successful saving throw, the spirit blesses the party, +3 to next roll. If unsuccessful, the spirit blames the party for their death and curses them, -3 to the next roll. I can't remember if they succeeded or not, but I do remember that happened in the room immediately before the boss. I think they failed their saving throw, and so they went into the boss
with a -3?
With a -3 on their first roll.
Oh, God, that sucks.
Yeah. And like I had the encounter immediately beforehand. Let's see here, which one did I come across? The vampire.
Ooh, okay.
But my wizard had the enthrall spell.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it because it doesn't work on a boss.
Right.
And
so you have to use it.
I have to use it, and I succeeded.
Yoink.
So I went into the boss fight with an enthralled vampire.
Nice.
But the boss that I rolled was the succubus.
Oh.
Who has enthrall. And I rolled for it randomly, and she happened to roll it on the vampire, and the vampire failed their saving throw again. So now I'm fighting the succubus and the vampire.
I'm sure there's like a litany of inappropriate succubus and vampire jokes, and I will leave those alone for now.
So anyway, we're rambling on now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is us playing with the One Shot in the Dark module maker kit. I think it's great.
I really like it.
It does work best whenever you have either the original One Shot in the Dark, the One Shot in the Dark expansion to use as a reference tool so that you can pull from one while you're building the other.
Yeah.
But it is helpful. It does provide framework. It provides layout assistance, some layout guidelines for ideas to make it look in the same format. He includes which fonts he uses and such. And for a free toolkit, this is great.
It's amazing. And even if you're going to go and you're going to buckle down and you're going to splurge on One Shot in the Dark, it's like, what, $1.50?
Yeah, I think it's $1.50 for the game, and then the expansion is $1.
Yeah, you can't buy a soda or a candy bar for that much anymore. He really is giving it away for pennies, quite literally. And again, the amount of replay value out of it is amazing. It's absolutely worth the cost.
So thank you, everyone, for listening tonight. If you have any comments, suggestions, or ideas, or if you make a one-shot in the dark module and you want to share it with, send us an email, undercommontaste@gmail.com, or better yet, come join us on our Discord server and show it off to everybody in the server.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You can find a link to our Discord along with links to our other social media through our website, undercommontaste.com. You can also find us on Patreon, patreon.com/undercommontaste. And you can find our products on our itch store at undercommontaste.itch.io.
If this is your first time listening, we're very happy you found us. You can find our other podcasts where we talk about world building and character development and game systems. Just search Under Common Taste on your podcatcher of choice and you'll find us there. You can also join me on Tuesdays and Thursdays at twitch.tv/undercommontaste. On Tuesdays, I am playing through Darkest Dungeon. We are approaching the end still. It is a bit of a grind. And then
approaching the end again?
Yes. And then on Thursdays, I am playing Neverwinter Nights.
Stay safe, everyone. I think we'll be back in 2 weeks with another Dragon episode. We've been having a lot of fun doing our Dragon episodes.
Yeah, we have.
I'm not sure which Dragon episode we're going to be doing, but we'll be doing another Dragon episode here in 2 weeks. So stay safe, and we will see you then.
Happy gaming.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Under Common Taste. Our theme song is Massacre Anne, written and performed by Mary Kroll and used with permission. You can find Mary online at marykroll.bandcamp.com or on Patreon at patreon.com/Dr. Mary C. Kroll. Our logo is by David Sutherland. You can find more of David's work on deviantart.com/David Sutherland or on instagram.com/Willex_73. We'll be back in 2 weeks, so stay safe, and we'll see you then.